What's going on YouTube? Welcome to the video. In this one, we're taking a look and we're going to be going through together the top 5 SMGs that we should be using in Warzone right now. So we're going to get a little bit geeky. We're going to take a look at some stats, but oh boy, are we going to learn some cool stuff. So if you appreciate this video and you learn something informative, it would honestly mean so much to me. You could support me and leave a like, get involved in the comments. Make sure you come and follow me on Twitch as well. This is where I frag out, and I'd honestly love to see you guys there. So without any further ado, let's get straight into this. Okay, boys and girls, so here we are. We're over on True Game Data. You guys that watched a few of my videos, you know this is what I use to get some of my stats. Nowadays, they've got like all the weapon stats, so it's really good. So what I have done, as I said just a second ago, is that I kind of spent an hour or two this morning kind of looking at every SMG and comparing them against each other. And this is the kind of criteria that I've set. So we're taking a look at TTK primarily, 250 HP, which is 3 plates in Warzone. Obviously, I include the open bolt delay and the bullet time travel to target because it just makes it all a bit more realistic. And it also kind of sets the scene for the worst case scenario. You know, an enemy that has full plates, full health, etc. So these are the weapons. As I said, I've done all the guns, all the SMGs, and these are the kind of top ones that I want to take a look at. So we've got the MAC-10, which you guys probably going to say in the comments, well, that's an obvious one, but I feel it's really important to include because it is the kind of meta SMG at the moment, and we can kind of see how every other SMG compares to it. So we've got the BULLFROG, the FENNEC, the MP5 Cold War, and the MP7. So let's take a look at the graph. So as you can see, here's all the different colors. We've got orange, we've got the MAC-10, we've got pink, we've got the BULLFROG. We've got this kind of aqua colors, the FENNEC, green is MP5, and the blue is the MP7. So as we can see across the bottom, I want to take a look at the kind of like fastest TTKs upwards. So the fastest TTK that we have, which as you can see compared to the orange, which is the MAC-10. So keep an eye on this orange line because this is basically the MAC-10, what everyone's using. And as I said, we're going to compare it to this. So the green line, the MP5 Cold War, actually has one of the quickest TTKs. It's got the lowest TTK at this distance, right? So bear in mind, this is a matter of like a 0.050 of a second, which is not much, but statistically, this is little things that can win you gunfights. Okay, so the first build we're going to take a look at is the MP5 Cold War. So first things I want to talk about with this though, is I know you guys probably asked me, well, what happened to the MP5 for Modern Warfare? Like, how does it compare? Why did you choose the Cold War one? So this is what I want to take a look at. So in terms of let's put this on 3 plates. I'm being an idiot. The MP5 Cold War that we have here in orange actually has a quicker TTK. It's not by much again. It's like tenths of a second, right? But it is quicker. It's quicker than the Modern Warfare MP5. So again, as you can see from the shelves, it just edges out a little bit better against the Modern Warfare MP5. And it just holds it a lot quicker. So that's pretty much it. Don't have anything else to say. So the Cold War MP5 is got the fastest TTK up until around 9 meters. Then at 9 meters, it jumps up to its first kind of like what I call, damage shelf, which goes up to 0.658. So it jumps up about 100th of a second. And this kind of continues up until 16 meters. And then from that, it kind of goes above the MP5 and a few other guns up until it goes to 16 meters. It goes out to 0.819 seconds. So therefore, this aqua color is the FENNEC, right? So the FENNEC is very, very good. So again, like the MP5 Cold War, we have one of the quickest time to kills. It's actually quicker than the MAC-10. Up until about 12 meters. The good thing about the MAC-10 is this is very consistent. It's got a very good consistency. It has a very good TTK, even at the kind of ranges. We're going up 30 meters, 40 meters. It's still looking really, really good. So the FENNEC is actually better than it up until about 12.6 meters, but the MAC-10 continues for another few more meters. So you get a little bit more out of the MAC-10. The FENNEC though jumps up to a 0.722 TTK at 12.6 meters, and then it only holds that for about what 4 meters, something like that, before it jumps up again to like a 0.8 TTK. So it's very comparable with the MAC-10, but we're kind of with the FENNEC, what we're doing is we're getting a little bit more TTK for a little bit less range. So that's the kind of summary of the FENNEC. So then for the pink line, what we've got is the BULLFROG. And a lot of people have been kind of like championing the BULLFROG, right? Recently, a lot of people have been using it, calling it out, saying it's really good, myself included, because it is a very good gun. It's a challenger for the Mac 10, as we can see. Again, this is like a difference of what, a 1/10 of a second difference TTK at close range. But at 14 meters, we get a jump up to 0.746 on the TTK. And it's very similar to the Mac 10. But the only difference here is with the BULLFROG is that about 19 meters, it jumps all the way up to nearly a second TTK. As you can see, this is the largest TTK. And I thought this was super interesting. As I said, a lot of people are using it, calling it out, saying it's really good. And this is where I was talking about in the intro, where you just can't take TTK into the whole equation. You need to think about other things. And the other thing is kind of like the usability of the gun. The Mac 10 has a lot faster fire rate than the BULLFROG. The BULLFROG can put out this damage for a more kind of like a more sustainable length of time. Whereas the Mac 10 will probably run out of bullets a lot quicker than the BULLFROG. At this kind of range, it's a lot more kind of like user friendly to keep things on control, depending on what kind of player you are. If you're a very high skilled player and you're very accurate, obviously the Mac 10 is going to be your go-to gun because you can keep that bad boy on your target at ranges. But if you're using the BULLFROG and you're not that accurate, you have more of an opportunity because you've got more ammo. When the Mac 10 runs out, the BULLFROG is going to keep on going. So anyway, let's move on from the BULLFROG. And the next one up is the MP7, the good old MP7. I love the MP7. I used to use this a lot. I used to love it. And what I always remember and always I used to love about the MP7 is that it always felt amazing at range. It just felt like a laser beam that you could laser people at range. Back in the old school meta about 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons ago, something like that, when it was basically as the MP7 versus the MP5. MP5 was your super up close and personal gun. That was the one that was like kit dropping everyone up until about 15, 20 meters. But your MP7 was the one that you was balancing out with a sniper. So you had that little bit more range. Yes, you was losing out to the MP5s at super close range, but you had that versatility. That's also, again, something I'm talking about with the BULLFROG. The BULLFROG might be something that you fancied more and you're more comfortable using in conjunction with a sniper. So the MP7 is back. It's only got 1 damage shelf, and that's also something very good. So yes, it doesn't hold out as much as the BULLFROG or as the Mac 10. It's got like, you're losing a couple of meters, like 3, 4 meters, something like that. But you get this jump up. There's no this second damage shelf. You just get this one big jump up to 10.5 meters. It jumps up to like just a 0.777 TTK. But it holds that, as we can see here, it holds that kind of line. There's no further jump, which means at ranges, so at 20, 30 meters continuously, it actually becomes one of the fastest TTKs, SMGs at ranges. So again, the MP7 might not be the thing you go to if you're running an assault rifle, being super aggressive, you know, the kind of like far Mac 10 meta that we're seeing a lot at the moment. It's still pretty much viable. But maybe the MP7 might be something you bring in if you want to kind of bring that long distance SMG back. It's very much like those 2 guns for me would be right now the BULLFROG and the MP7. So now that we've taken a look at all the guns, the main thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the attachments. So with all this information, we can kind of see what is the fastest killing gun versus at different ranges. But now what I want to take a look at is the attachments for each of these selections. And again, guys, if you got any comments, feedback, I mean, I'm not perfect. All I've done this morning is take a look at the data. I'm just sharing it with you guys. So if you got any comments and feedback, make sure you leave it down below. So in terms of an actual build for the Cold War MP5s, I'm going to kind of try and fly through these as quick as possible. I'm going to touch on the key points, but I mean, these gun builds can be entire videos in themselves, so I hope you guys appreciate that. So for the muzzle, we're going to go for the agency suppressor. And this, as you can see here, is because it gives us the range modifier plus 10%, and it gives us the beneficiary vertical recoil of minus 10% as well. So it also gives us sound suppression, which everyone knows is what we totally need in Warzone. So for the barrel, we're going to go for the 9.5 task force. This gives us extra damage range of 50% and the bullet velocity of 50%. As we can see from the chart that we had before, obviously it's super fast time to kill, but it kind of needs a bit of a push at range. So that's why obviously I'm focusing on this in the barrel section. In terms of ammunition, we know we need more ammo for taking on people in Warzone. So what I want to go for is the Stalag 50 round drum. So it's kind of like this isn't about gaining stuff apart from bullets in the clip, in the magazine, obviously. It's about how much ADS you can not lose. So with the Stanag 50 round drum, we actually only get a deficit of 33 milliseconds. Whereas if you go for the 40 round, you get the same 33 millisecond deficit. Or if you go for the Salvo 50 round fast mag, you actually get plus 63, which is worse. So all in all, you kind of want to go for the 50 round Stanag. Outside of this, for the stock, I go for the, what one do I go for? I go for the collapse stock. This is the reason, again, if we're going to be super fast TTK up close, we want to be snappy, we want to be fast out of sprint, we want to be fast out, you know, into our ADS, etc. We kind of can go for hipfire. Obviously, this will work really well for hipfire, but we want to focus when we go for ADS, we're super snappy coming out of sprint and stuff. So for the collapse stock, that gives us minus 17 milliseconds on the sprint to fire time and the minus 25 milliseconds on the tac sprint to fire time. Now, if you're like me and you've got auto sprint, you're going to be auto tac sprint, you're going to be coming out of auto tac sprint all the time. So that's the kind of like main stat that we're looking for. Means we're going to be super aggressive. Really, really cool. The last attachment is the underbarrel. I was going to talk about the rear grips and the optics and the lasers and stuff. The rear grips from the Cold War guns don't really give you that much, so stay away from those. Optics, again, if you guys don't like the iron sights, you guys can switch one of these out for an optic. I'm not going to tell you which one. It's up to you, personal choice, as you can see from the graph. Only a few of them really give you negative ADS. So that is completely up to you. My camera keeps slipping down because my screen keeps falling down. Not very good. But underbarrel, we're going to go for the field agent grip. This gives you minus 10% on vertical and minus 10% on the horizontal. Moving on to the FENNEC. Now, the FENNEC's a little bit more difficult, to be quite honest. So for the muzzle, it's quite simple. We're going to go for the ZLR Sabre. Now, the reason I go for this is that it gives us integrated, it's like a range modifier and the suppression and everything. So that's a really good one to use. So we go to ZLR Sabre. It gives us range modifier of plus 27%. The ADS. Now, this is one of the main points of my build for the FENNEC. I actually really prefer the FENNEC as just a hip fire monster. So I kind of go for hip fire area, bring that nice and down so it's super tight versus ADS and stuff like that. I think that's where it really excels because of the super rapid fire rate. Sorry, can't even say that. Versus the ADS, it gets a bit crazy at ADS. So long story short, I built this for hip fire. So yeah, range modifier is all good. ADS gives us plus 43 milliseconds. As I said, I don't really care about that for this build. Vertical recoil minus 12% and bullet velocity of 20%. But what we're really looking at for this attachment is just range. Again, if we look at our previous table, the aqua line is that we just want to kind of push this amazing TTK up towards the Mach 10 kind of range. So that's the muzzle. For the underbarrel, I go for the Merc foregrip. Again, we're getting super negative ADS, but I don't really care about that. Only minus 1% movement speed, which is good. ADS movement speed of minus 7%. Again, I don't care about that because we're hip firing. Vertical recoil minus 17%. And what I'm going for here is a minus 19%, which is really, really good hip fire area. So with this build, just kind of like a quick summary, is that with the hip fire area, we can actually get this down from 6K pixels down to 2.16K pixels, which is tiny. So that's really, 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 really good. So for the next attachment, laser, a 5 milliwatt laser. So what this gives us is sprint to fire time. This is what we want, again, for the previous build in the MP5, is that we want to really bring this to be really aggressive, snappy out of tac sprint, etc. So it gives us minus 9 milliseconds on the sprint to fire time and minus 29 milliseconds on the tac sprint to fire time. Also a massive minus 56% on the hip fire area, which is one of the main attachments that's bringing this hip fire area down and down and down and down and down. So for the ammo, anyone that's used the FENNEC knows you have to run with this because it gets through ammo so quickly. It's the 40 round drum mag. And for the last attachment, it's the rear grip. So for the rear grip, again, this is making us really aggressive, really snappy out of sprint and stuff. So ADS minus 4 milliseconds, sprint to fire time minus 13 milliseconds, and attack sprint to fire time minus 34 milliseconds with no downsides. So that's really, really, really good. My screen keeps tilting and it's driving me nuts. Anyway, let's move on to the Bullfrog. So I have done a build for this and I'll leave the card in the top right, but I think I'm going to make a little change though. I think I'm going to make a little tiny change. So if we look at this stat from the Bullfrog, as I said before, it's really, really good and competes with the Mach 10, etc., etc. But then it has this massive jump. up until kind of like a 1 second TTK at 19 meters. So kind of bearing that in mind, let's just run through the attachments that I go for. So for the muzzle, I go for the Grew Suppressor, get 10% extra range, 10% extra vertical recoil control, just for the pricey sum of plus 17 milliseconds ADS. Now for the barrel, it's quite a simple one. We go for the Task Force barrel. We get extra 50% range and 80% bullet velocity. Sick. That really helps you with the range, obviously. So when we start sucking about 20 meters, that kicks into play. So for the underbarrel, again, a really straightforward one is a Spetsnaz grip, because it gives us 10% better recoil control on the vertical and horizontal. For the mags, go for the Stanag 85. I think in my previous video, I was kind of debating whether you go for the 65 or 85, but I didn't have these stats then. So I think the change I'm going to make is that I'm going to go for the 85 round mags, because it's pretty much, well, it's exactly the same ADS deficit for both of those. And for the stock, you can kind of see a theme repeating here. I like to be very snappy out of a sprint. So we're going to go for the wire stock for the minus 17 on the sprint to fire time and the minus 25 milliseconds on the tack sprint to fire time. I'm going to quickly go through a Mac 10 build. I'm sure you guys have seen a metric shit ton of these on YouTube already. So we're going to go for the Agency Suppressor. That gives us extra 10% range, extra 10% in vertical recoil control, all for the pricey sum of just plus 12 milliseconds on ADS. For the barrel, we're going to go for the 5.9 Task Force. That's because it gives us 50% extra range and 80% extra bullet velocity. So that's amazing. Then for the underbarrel, we go for the Field Agent Grip, because it simply gives us minus 10% in vertical recoil and minus 10% on the horizontal. Then for the ammunition, we're going to go for the Stanag 53 round drum. Simply put, because it ups our ammo count to 53 per round, or per mag, per drum, whatever you want to say, for the low cost of plus 33 milliseconds on the ADS. And then to bring that all back, I go for the wire stock. That gives us minus 9 milliseconds on the sprint to fire time and minus 25 seconds on the tack sprint to fire time. Okay, last but by no means least, we're going to be taking a look at the MP7. So for this MP7, let's start off, as I always do, with the muzzle. So for the muzzle attachment, I'm going to go for the mono suppressor. No surprise there. Gives us 10% extra range and 15% extra bullet velocity, as well as a sound suppression. I go for the 5 milliwatt laser. Again, this thing is epic at hip fire. The kind of hip fire spread that we've got at the moment with this build, we've taken it down from, where is the hip fire there? 5.5K pixels down to 2.44. So it's epic. And that mostly comes through this. So the 5 milliwatt laser gives us an extra 56% hip fire area. So a sprint to fire time is minus 9 milliseconds, and the tack sprint to fire time is minus 29 milliseconds. So for the underbarrel, this is where it can kind of get a little bit like up in the air, but I go for the Commando 4 grip. This gives us minus 6% on the vertical, minus 15 on the horizontal bounce. The only downside is it gives us minus 2%, which isn't too bad, on the movement speed overall. And it gives us minus 14% on the ADS movement speed. Now, there are things in the stock that you can kind of get things back through this, like with the ultralight and stuff. But for me, there are better attachments. So for the mags, I go for the 50 round mag, which essentially just gives us, it's better for our movement speed. Again, because we lost a little bit through the underbarrel attachment. It's nice not to lose too much, but obviously we need some extra ammo. So the 50 is more than enough. So for my last attachment for the MP7, what I go for is the rear grip. This is sick. So for the stippled grip tape, this is what I use. We get minus 8 milliseconds on the ADS. We get minus 13 milliseconds on the sprint to fire time, and we get minus 34 milliseconds on the tack sprint out time. Right, so to round this all off, guys, I'm going to take a look, and this is kind of like the graph that features all of these guns that I've been talking about with all of the attachments and setups and the builds that I've just been discussing with you guys. And we kind of balance this out. Now I'm going to kind of leave this with you guys. You can ask questions down in the comments. You can take a look here with all the attachments and how it all kind of plays out. If you've got any questions, I'll say, let me know down in the comments. I'll always get back to you guys. But the two guns that I'm really looking forward to trying out after this, I've already tried out the BULLFROG, is going back to the FENNEC and the MP7. So taking a look here, the MP7, again, just with its one kind of damaged drop off shelf, comes back and starts competing with the Mac 10 and the MP5 at around this kind of like from about 20, just over 20 meters. It's got very similar TTKs, so I'm very interested in trying out that. Again, yes, at closer ranges, it's losing out. But again, if you're kind of pairing this with a Kar 98 or something, the MP7 could be back. Also, as I said, the FENNEC, also very, very good. Very quick TTK up until about 20 meters. And then it kind of drops off a bit quicker than the Mach 10, but it's still very comparable. And I would just love to try out that super fast TTK as well as the MP5 at those close ranges. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm going to do a random off the cuff, off the top of my head giveaway. So if you've watched this far in the video, if you comment down my end quote, which is peace, down in the comments, I'll give you guys like a €10, dollar, pound, whatever card of any online store of your choice of like gaming, obviously like PlayStation Network, Steam, whatever. So I'll choose the winner at random. But yeah, so thanks for watching the video, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.